Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Delivery Pod. My name is Nicholas Marquardt. Today, we'll be focusing on the evolving world of customer demand.
Great, and I'm Kevin Savage, and it's the first time you're listening to the pod. Don't forget to subscribe if you like to join the debate around our ever-changing cities. Just as a recap, we are continuing to look at the three elements in which are affecting our cities. One is the accelerating volume and velocity of e-commerce. The second one is the changing infrastructure in our cities. And the third one, which I think we're probably going to touch on a lot today, is the end customer and that consumer and those changing demands.
Yeah, absolutely. And to do so, I'm really excited to welcome Jack Green from Bodo. Jack's background was originally at Deliveroo, where he was doing data operations and commercial strategy. He then went on to join Cloud Kitchens, which is a startup led by Travis Kalanick that does these ghost kitchens all over the world, which we've touched on in past episodes. There, he was focused on global partnerships, so stretching out of the US and focusing on Europe and other parts of the world as well. He since co-founded Bodo, which is a logistics software for e-commerce brands, which we're going to touch on a lot today. And so, Jack, I'm going to come straight to you. Because of the three kind of points that Kevin outlined at the beginning of the show, we have this kind of podcast narrative of the world of logistics is changing from one where fulfillment was happening outside of cities in a very conventional way to one where the last part of the fulfillment is actually happening in micro-fulfillment centers inside cities. And that enables faster delivery, because that's what customers are asking for, but also a different kind of vehicle fleet usage. And so I might start off there and ask, is that something that you're seeing in your space as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that customer expectations have never, ever been higher. Yeah. I think that Amazon really sets the barrier very, very high, and retailers have to always play catch up with what Amazon's doing. So if I can get any product in the world tomorrow free, every other retailer has to recognize that's the status quo. That's the entry point. And so what we help brands achieve is competition with that proposition. Instead of saying, I need to follow the customer expectation, which is fast, cheap delivery. I'm going to just go on Amazon. I need to keep my customer data. I need to keep that relationship with my customer on my own channel. Mm-hmm. I need to make my delivery proposition stronger. And the ways you achieve that are kind of obviously quite broad. Mm-hmm. The way that we help brands achieve that is really by forward deploying that stock into an inventory hub that allows you to access customers in a much quicker, greener, and ultimately better way. And so that's what our technology is about. It's about holding stock in the right places, whether that's through our dark stores, which we operate, or your first-party fulfillment. We plug into a lot of brands' first-party fulfillment, or even stores. Increasingly, we're utilizing the inventory that's already been deployed into retail locations and offering customers at checkout on that brand's website a fast and a green delivery, which is typically a same-day or a one-hour experience. And for that, of course, you need a totally different setup in many ways in terms of your courier integrations and the kinds of vehicles you use and the kind of experience and communications you offer to your customer.
Okay, there's a lot there to digest. That's very, very exciting. Of course, it's impossible to have these kinds of conversations without bringing up Amazon. They're always our go-to example for this third point of evolving customer demands. I think a decade ago or 15 years ago, we all expected kind of 5-6 day delivery. Then Prime came along and introduced 2-day delivery. Now we have next day delivery or 4-hour delivery. At Bodo, you're often offering 1-hour delivery. And so this is this kind of extreme evolution of this trend that we've been seeing over time. And so can you walk me through, you throw out a lot of terms out there. You work a lot with specialists who understand this stuff. But for, my mother who's listening at home, let's break this down a little bit. A sunglasses retailer could come to you and say, "Hey, I want to be able to offer 1-hour delivery or better delivery to my customers." How do you work with them?
Yeah, so I think it's about understanding the setup of the retailer initially. You have quite a diverse range of businesses out there. Let's take Qubits, for example. Qubits is what I would describe as a direct consumer brand, very digitally native, built on Shopify. A perfect example of we built an amazing online business because we have a great product and we understand our customer. But then fast forward, 5-10 years later, we've also got an amazing store portfolio. We've got a network of stores around London, Edinburgh, Manchester. And so, yes, we've got an online business where we deliver from our warehouse that we work with a provider in the Midlands. But we've also got this network of stores. And so I think when we approach a retailer like that, we try to understand as many of those parameters as we can immediately. And then we say, okay, well, it sounds like you've got stock centrally located across these cities. We're going to tap into that supply. So open up your APIs, open up your e-commerce platform. Let me understand a little bit about how you operate from a digital perspective. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically localize that fulfillment for you. So your mum's buying Qubits online.
Mm-hmm.
She is in Hackney. And the first thing that's going to happen is she's going to browse the selection of sunglasses that she wants.
On the Qubits website?
On the Qubits
never
website.
Never facing Bodo directly?
No.
Yeah.
So the customers will never know that we exist. I think that's the way we plan to stay, at least for the foreseeable future. But your mum's going to ultimately get to the point where she wants to buy a pair of sunglasses. And I think that's where the direct consumer proposition, that's where we sit, is what does the final piece of checkout look like? I think brands put a lot of effort into, Qubits is a great example. Their Instagram's amazing, their brand's great. It's a really well thought after. That's why they've been so successful online. And then often you get to this point online where the delivery proposition is an afterthought. It's not part of the experience. We care about our landing page. We care about our social. We care about our box and our unboxing experience. We care about every part of the consumer journey. But then, maybe we're just happy to whack it in a box and kick it out the door, and it arrives, maybe 5 days later, and a Royal Mail strike. Sorry, mate. I think that's where the system's really broken, and that's where Amazon is an amazing example.
Yeah.
Amazon gets it right, 110% of the time, at least in my experience. Their answer to customer service has been almost don't need it, and that's what we're trying to create for brands. So we try to join up the dots and create an amazing delivery experience that allows your mum to return to that store. So how we actually enable that from a physical challenge perspective is we tap into the inventory management system of Qubits and we localize every basket. So we look at where your mum is buying, where she's asking to have her address, where she's asking the product to be delivered. And then we're looking across the network of that retailer and localizing and identifying where we can find that inventory. Sometimes we're going to get a no. Right? Sometimes we're going to get the only place we can find this product is in the warehouse in the Midlands, in which case we know we can only offer you a standard delivery option.
Yeah.
But if we find that inventory much closer, we know that we can offer your mum a faster, greener, and better delivery experience.
Yeah.
So we're going to connect that basket, that pair of sunglasses, with a local courier. We're going to send that courier to the store. We're fully embedded and integrated with the retailer's checkout. We don't actually work with Qubits. I'd like to. And we identify that stock unit. We process that order in the back end, and we have a retail assistant pick and pack that order and deliver it to the customer. And the customer, your mum in this instance, is getting an amazing tracking experience. They're getting that Deliveroo-like experience where, your order's been picked up. It's on the way. I just got a WhatsApp. I can call my rider and say, actually, I've just gone out for lunch. Can you leave it outside? Or I actually need to change the address. So it's just about understanding what the back end of these systems architectures look like.
Yeah.
Where's the stock? Where are the couriers? Who's the right courier? What's the best and cheapest method to offer this product to the customer? And how do I embed that in the e-commerce experience so that it's viable for an e-commerce platform and ultimately a good experience for the retailer and the customer?
Jack, can I just pick up on a couple of things? 'Cause I think there's two things from a very simple point of view from me as a consumer. You're going to give me more choice at checkout, and part of that choice is local fulfillment. So those are the two enablers that changes the consumer experience. Yeah?
Yeah, a little bit. I think that the customers don't really care. I think that the customers, they don't care where it's coming from. I think I used to work in dark kitchens. if you tell a customer that they can get Honest Burger in 25 minutes, they care about price, they care about speed, and they care about brand. If it comes from a dark kitchen or it comes from the high street, they don't really mind. They care about Honest Burger, they care about the brand. So what we try and do is we try and take out the faff of delivery. Customers don't really care who the carrier is. I think they have preconceptions about who's better and who's worse. But I don't think that helps customers convert. What helps customers convert is speed and price, right? And then ultimately the experience they have will help them build their profile with that retailer and whether or not they come back and how their spending habits change over time. But I think ultimately those are the parameters they feed in. They don't really mind if it's DHL or Every or if it's coming locally or it's coming from the Midlands. They only care about how it impacts them.
But from a speed and price point of view, and if you've not got it locally, you can't do either of those things.
No, totally. It categorically needs to be local to offer that proposition. That's a physical barrier. I can't offer you a same-day delivery unless your product's in range. Yeah. Clearly, I can't offer you a 1 hour delivery from the Midlands in London. So I think that's where the barrier is. But as a customer, I just go, yeah, okay, I want it today. If the price is reasonable, I'll have it today. They don't think through the full supply chain there, I don't think.
And how do retailers feel about, if they've got bricks and mortar on the high street, they've got inventory available, but how do they feel about putting inventory into other stores?
Yeah, I think it's really, really divided and polarized retailers. I spoke to a really large national retailer with over 1,000 stores across the UK recently about this product, the in-store fulfillment product. And the way they see it is, I deploy stock into my stores because that is going to move to a retail customer. Put 5 blue leggings in my store because I think 5 people are going to transact in store for blue leggings. If you sell my inventory online, you sell one of those blue leggings, all you've done is created a missing stock unit that I have to get from my warehouse to my store. That's one retailer's opinion. And then exactly the same construct, another retailer, very, very different product type in the beauty space, beauty and cosmetic space says, I've got an online business and I got a massive retail business. And the way I see it, my retail business is 250 or 300 warehouses in the best possible locations. So if you're telling me I can get my product to my customer in the quickest and greenest way, customer's going to have an amazing experience and I can sell that product quicker than I might have before, brilliant, turn it on. So you just have different ways of seeing. I think some people believe, channels need to be hyper-specialized, the best possible proposition in every channel, and that an online customer is fundamentally different to an in-store customer. And some retailers say it's all about omnichannel. Just make everything available all the time, really cheap for the customer. The customer is, I have to serve my customer in the best possible way. That's the only thing that matters.
Yeah. And so what you're saying is, historically retail and online were two fundamentally different channels, where inventory management and planning and advertising was all done totally separately. Increasingly, you can turn your storefronts into actual warehouses or micro-fulfillment centers themselves. And so you can't plan for these two things distinctly anymore. You need to account for online demand in stores.
I think that every retailer is unique.
Yeah.
I speak to really advanced, very, very digitally optimized, digitally centric retailers who absolutely separate their in-store and their online inventory management systems and fulfillment flows.
Yeah.
And they have really good reasons for doing that. No retailer is the same. I think that by the time click and collect has penetrated your online, there is a question mark over what you could do with that stock. Because the moment you've identified that you know where product is across your store network, you have the opportunity to do more with it.
Yeah.
If you don't offer that proposition and you have two different flows, that's great, right? Sometimes that works perfectly and you just separate. I mean, in retail, for example, I know that an in-store customer returns a lot less frequently than an online customer. I think, in apparel and UK high street apparel, sometimes that might be, 40, 50% returns online versus 10, 15 in store, because ultimately you've tried it on, right? You would never ask a customer.
Oh, returning the good, not returning to shop.
Sorry, returning the good, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine.
Wow, 50%.
Yeah,
that's huge.
Very, very, and during peak, during like a Christmas peak, that figure might be, upwards of 60%.
Wow. We'll talk about sustainability later, but that sounds hugely wasteful.
It can be, yeah.
You say that, right? But if you talk to retailers about it, they'll go, okay, well, You ever been to a store and tried some clothes on?
Yeah.
Imagine if when you went into the changing room, you had to buy all 10.
Yeah.
You know, like that's what we're dealing with online. People want to try. They want to try before they buy.
Yeah, absolutely.
They want to try 10 articles of clothing on in 2 different sizes and then choose the ones they want. They're replicating that experience online as they are in store. And that's why the returns in store are low, because they've already gone through that process.
Yeah, that's fair. So listen, we've talked about the kind of what you're enabling for retailer side, when really I think the focus of this episode is like, what are customers getting out of this? What are customers asking for these days? And so you've mentioned a few different of these points. You know, it's speed, it's traceability. But can we talk through from a customer perspective, you know, how much are they paying? Are they paying more? And then what are they getting as a result? Obviously, speed is one of them. And so can we talk through some of those benefits to the customer?
Yeah, sure. What they'll pay is really interesting. I think everyone expects free delivery.
Yeah.
I think free delivery is the status quo. I think 75% of UK brands offer free delivery at a certain threshold.
Yeah.
So delivery isn't free. I think you guys have talked about that in the past. It's a real cost to brands. But customers aren't willing to pay for it. And I think that when we speak to real kind of direct-to-consumer brands who are really investing in that channel, they see that it's one of the biggest single things they can do to drive conversion at checkout is offer free delivery. But it's at a significant cost, right? So I think that customers are acclimatizing to free delivery. And that's the gap for us, is almost increasingly, I feel like the biggest competitor to better delivery, greener delivery, faster delivery is free delivery.
Yeah.
And so we have really quite a broad range of conversion metrics that we look at. But like, to take the most basic one, what percentage of customers will convert on same day delivery if they are shown that option? We do see about 40%, which is really, really high. But it really varies so much based on the cost and the category.
Yeah.
So for example, beauty and beverage, we see really, really high conversion. For beverage, I think that's about the experiential quality. It's like booze now. Not we work with brands like AU Vodka, which is a really amazing brand based in Swansea. You know, people buying vodka online probably want it now.
Yeah.
That makes sense, right? And then beauty as well. The price point is higher. There's more cost to absorb. And there's also not so much experiential, but there's a necessity, like there's a need quality there. And so we do see the conversion higher. I think what's interesting to see is when you offer a customer free delivery, let's say the cost differential between a standard Royal Mail, 48-hour tracked service to the retailer all in maybe is like a £4 or £5. That's what they're eating on the purchase. So they're subsidizing that cost for you and telling you it's free delivery. And they're prepared to do that maybe after you spend £40 or £50. So they're prepared to absorb that cost. If the cost difference is a few pounds with a same day delivery, they've basically got to pass that to the customer. So they've got to say, okay, you can have it for free, but if you want it today, you've got to pay an extra £3. So what's interesting is for retailers who offer free delivery or same day delivery for free versus £3 or £2.99, we'll see conversion often, depending on the basket, of maybe like 15, 20%. If the same retailer on the same product offers you a £3 delivery for a standard or a £6 delivery for a same day, we get about 40% conversion, so almost doubles.
So once people have decided they're going to pay something, they're willing to pay the extra bit more.
I think it's about comparing. I think it's about, okay, well, I can wait 3 or 4 days and pay £3. Not a great deal.
Yeah.
Or I can pay £6 and get it much, much quicker. When you're actually comparing the delivery proposition and you go, okay, this is a 100% electric vehicle, so an emissionless delivery, and it's going to come today as long as I place it before 4 p.m. A pretty good deal for £6. But especially when compared to paying £3 and waiting 5 days, right? But when you tell me it's free, you're now asking me to spend money on delivery. I'm buying a new product. And the data there shows that customers will actually spend, I think it's like a multiple of the delivery cost in the basket. So what I mean by that is, if you tell me delivery is £5, I might actually spend 10, 15, even £20 more if you offer me free delivery at the threshold, which is really quite astounding. That really is the most telling data point, that customers do not want to pay for delivery unless it's a really exceptional service or there is a significant necessity around speed, basically.
Yeah, and I've been on the receiving end of that before, where it's like basket size above $75 is free delivery, and you're sitting at 60, and so you'll end up adding $40 worth of goods to your basket to save what $3-4 in actual delivery. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really interesting concept, that checkout experience, isn't it? And up till now, I think retailers have copied. Amazon's not even free, is it? Because you need to subscribe, and you pay an annual fee. But that annual fee spread over, if you're ordering 20 orders a year, it's a fraction of the cost. So obviously retailers build it into the price. They haven't got the bricks and mortar anymore and the piece like that. But it's really interesting, that human behaviour you pulled out, Jack. If it's free, I'll have it free. But
Can't beat free.
It's very, very simple.
You can't beat free. Whatever service you're offering me, free is better. That's a customer centric. I think, and that comes back to Amazon. Like, they've not done that by accident, right? Prime is not a proposition of service time, right? Like, Royal Mail 48 hour is a proposition. DPD next day is a proposition. It has a serviceable trait and it has a clear proposition to the customer. Prime actually doesn't. Prime was a standard service, then it became a 2-day service, then it became a 1-day service. And by the way, Prime now has 100,000 SKUs available for same-day delivery, but they call it Prime. They don't tell you same day, they tell you Prime. So they're conditioning us over a long period of time that Prime is the best possible delivery experience. And they've done that by, I actually think the Prime is almost free, right? Relatively on the basis that you're paying for it. And I think that's where we've seen other retailers copy that service. Someone like a Space NK or an ASOS or a Boohoo, where you pay something at checkout, you pay a one-off fee of 12 quid and you get unlimited free delivery. Or you get unlimited free next day delivery or something like that. And the cost always changes a little bit. But that is the Prime construct. It's I buy your loyalty today. I take a small piece now that clearly will not cover my cost basis for the year, but I buy your loyalty to my marketplace. You now have to come to my marketplace and shop with me because you've subscribed to that, and my delivery experience will be better than anywhere else. And that's what Prime and what Amazon have done so well.
Well, I think there's two things they did. One is predictability, and one is reliability. And when you look at their overall service levels, those goals many, many more times than a lot of other retailers do in the way that they pass it on to another carrier. So in terms of, we all agree there's no such thing as free delivery. And I think consumers know, but they get it free with the price of the product they're buying. So we're conditioned in that way. So I think in terms of predictability and reliability, Amazon are well ahead of the game, etc. But I think of checkout choice. I think what you're saying, Jack, is that we can create environments where other retailers can actually benefit from a better checkout retail. So I can choose a green delivery, I can choose a 1-hour delivery, I can choose a next day delivery, or I can choose a same day delivery. All of those have different price points, and I can, as a consumer, make more choice.
Yeah, and that's just the conversion piece, right? Like, if we look at the funnel for me for a retailer is about acquisition, conversion, and retention. I need to get people into my flows, my CRM, my social, my landing page. I need to convert them with my proposition. That's about UX, UI. It's about pricing, about your product proposition, obviously, about your delivery proposition, converting those customers. If you're one of those customers who goes on Amazon and filters for Prime, right? I'm one of those people, So that's about converting the customer. But there's also the retention piece is huge, right? Again, something Amazon's done so well is it's not just, if I offer you a same-day delivery experience, I might be able to convert you, which I think is absolutely the case. I think you are increasing your chances. It's also about what is that experience like. I think it's about surprise and delight on the delivery experience. I think that some of the brands we work with that do a really good job of surprise and delight. Sometimes that's about, we gave you 10% off or a loyalty code or a free product. Sometimes it's just about the product, the consumer experience you go through. So we work with brands who will offer you standard delivery for free and put it on a next day service. And you see overwhelmingly that reflected in the reviews. Oh my God, I love this product. I got it so quickly. oh my God, yes, delivery was so fast. Oh, I didn't even pay when I got it so quickly. I think that customers really, really appreciate that expedited service, that better service, especially when they didn't pay for it and they didn't expect it, versus broader in the market, how much people get hurt on not delivering on their promise.
Yeah.
Again, spoke to a really big national retailer at a logistics conference recently, and they said the biggest problem they have online is the customer service spikes when courier services fail them and they misdeliver by even 1 day.
Yeah.
If you have a next day service and you don't deliver next day, suddenly you're overwhelmed with customer service inquiries and WISMOs. Where is my order?
Yeah.
Right? WISMO is the acronym that everyone uses in logistics because it's so common. It's typically 40-50% of customer service inbound is, where is it? Is it on the way? Has it arrived yet? Where's proof of delivery?
Yeah.
And I think that's where you can be really effective as a retailer if you under-promise and over-deliver.
Yeah. Well, I think one interesting point there, and you mentioned Amazon is so good at predictability. That comes to a limit, right? They'll tell you one day when you're getting your package, but they're not going to tell you when it's on its way. You're not going to be able to see it when it's on its way. And you were just describing your product before as, a Deliveroo-esque experience where I can see it coming to my house, and therefore I can guarantee that I'm there, and therefore there won't be any missed returns. And so we've talked about speed a lot. Let's talk about traceability. Tell us about that user experience upon ordering something that's going to be fulfilled by Bodo.
Yeah, I think it's just about understanding your customer and where they are and what channels they're on.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I look at incumbents in the space and I just go, why are you telling me just this swathe of irrelevant information? Right? Like, don't tell me my order has been processed in Portsmouth.
Yeah.
I live in London. Don't tell me it's been boxed. Don't tell me I'm the 19th drop. Right? Like, that we get inundated with notifications across channels in a way that is not aligned with how I behave as a customer. So we try to chop the fat out of that process. We work with lots of different third-party couriers. We utilize some of the same services that other people are doing, but we shred that customer experience and we rebuilt it into what we think is customer first. So what are the core attributes I need to know? Well, I need to know that my payment has actually gone somewhere, like confirm the order's been placed. That's a kind of prerequisite of any e-commerce transaction. And then immediately give me a tracking, right? Tell me when my package is nearby, when it's on the way and within a reasonable time frame. So for example, for our 1 hour deliveries, we say, Deliveroo style, your order's been picked up, your order's on the way, your courier is nearby, and it's been delivered. And we do that for the on-demand because it's a more engaging experience and we need to give you more notifications than on a conventional delivery. But how do we do that? We do that on WhatsApp. We don't email you 9 times, right? We're WhatsApping you. It's conversational. You can call the driver. You have a live tracking of the driver like a Deliveroo so you can see them on the map. I think that was an Uber philosophy that was, I don't actually care about the ETA nearly as much as I care about where is it, and you have a friend, are you on the way yet? And they go, yeah, I'm on the way. I'm 10 minutes away. And you go, where are you? Let me be the judge of how far away you are. It's the same in delivery, right? I don't care if you're 19 drops away. I don't know I don't know where you are. Tell me when you're going to be here within a reasonable time frame. So that's what we try to create. And I think that the speed prospect of what we do at Bodo is also about convenience. I think Prime is convenient because it's tomorrow. It's not that the customer needs it quickly. It's not that if I buy a bag online or a dress online or something, I need it tonight. It's not why we offer same-day delivery. Sometimes it is, sometimes for beauty and beverage. But for a lot of retailers, it's just about visibility, predictability, as you say, and convenience. I know I'm in tonight. I know I'm in tomorrow morning. 3 to 5 business days, no idea.
Yeah.
I'm going to make plans. Like, I don't know when I'll be in.
Yeah.
So and you see that in different demographics. You see that younger generations, your Gen Z, want speed because they don't plan, they're time poor.
Yeah.
So they just want it as quick as possible. And then older generations want specificity. They go, okay, I don't care if you can come today or tomorrow. Thursday's fine, but when on Thursday? Because I need to plan around that. I need specificity around the time window and I want flexibility. I might change the address and I might change the time or the day. That's the functionality I want. So I think it's just about like you're changing your product and offering to retailers the ability to offer a convenient delivery. Sometimes that's speed. Sometimes that's about carbon neutral delivery. Sometimes that's about flexibility. You have to optimize for all of those things in your product.
Yeah, no, that's fascinating. And I think that's exactly what we wanted to get at is most people just focus on speed when they talk about quality of delivery when really there are all these other factors that sometimes are even more important.
Speed is really about convenience. It's knowing where you're gonna be and what you're doing.
Yeah, and avoiding the worst case scenario, which is a missed delivery. And so, if it's the same day but you're not going to be there, there's no benefit to that. And so, can you just walk us through the last step of that delivery process? You're not hiring and doing the delivery yourself, are you?
No, so we integrate with a quite broad variety of couriers. That's everything from, we do some national fulfillment out of our hubs for brands that need that. We do next day deliveries, 7 days on 7, and that's all carbon neutral. We do same day deliveries, which have a kind of 4 p.m. cutoff, 5 p.m. cutoff, which is really useful for some retailers. And then we also have a 1 hour delivery. So for all of those different mechanisms, we use different couriers, different APIs. Our job as the service provider is to go to you, the retailer, and say, what do you want at checkout? What do you want to offer your customer? It's our job to make that a practical reality. So where are you deploying your stock? What services can we offer? And by having that flexibility, we turn on and turn off services based on who you are and what you sell. So, for example, we have retailers who want to use our dark store network only because they have no retail presence. People with a direct-to-consumer beverage proposition or a beauty product that is relatively novel but is really strong online, they don't have stores, so you can't turn their stores on. Then we have retailers who go, I don't want to send stock to a dark store. I've got centralized distribution somewhere that makes sense for me and I operate that, but I've got a really broad store network. Can you activate that inventory? And we'll say what kind of services we can turn on, which is typically going to be the 1 hour delivery proposition. And then there's lots of combinations of those things. So we have retailers who we store lots of their products, their best sellers, in a dark store so that we can tap into that same day proposition for them at their checkout. But we also work with their stores. And so we're really just turning on nodes in their distribution, and we're layering into their checkout to always validate that customer at the point of checkout. What's in their basket and what are all the ways I can get it to you as the customer? And that gives the retailer the biggest opportunity to, again, convert that customer with the best proposition and then retain them, right? Like that's the key here, is to make sure they come back. And you see that in the data in a really compelling way. And we've been operating for about 6-7 months now. And we're processing probably about just over 1,000 orders a day across different channels. And I think what's powerful about that is we now have 6-7 months of trading data to look at and say, okay, well, if I look at your customer cohorts for really early customers, I isolate the customers who received the same day delivery on your website, looking at just those customers. How did they spend? How did they retain? How often did they come back over the following 6-month period? And then compare that to the customers in the same period who bought the same products, who got a 3 to 5 day Royal Mail delivery. And what you see in that is that those customers come back more frequently. They retain better, i.e. a higher percentage of them actually does come back, and they spend more. They got a materially better proposition, and that made them retain on your channel, because sometimes I think they might retain, but they're going to go somewhere else. So, we work with the leading CBD beverage company in the UK with a huge market share, and they're very, very broadly distributed across the UK. They're in basically every national retailer, and it's a really popular product. It's a fantastic product. But their online proposition is also really strong. So yeah, you can walk down to the shops and you can get one, but you can also get a very, very strong proposition from them online. And so what I suppose we're helping them do is engage their customer base, retain their customer base on their channel, so that if you want to buy that product, you can go on Amazon and get it tomorrow, but you can also go direct to them, and they'll probably have a better selection, hopefully the best available prices, sometimes limited SKUs, different products you can't get elsewhere. And so what you're doing is you're bringing the Amazon proposition level with your direct-to-consumer proposition, or with fast delivery apps, or anything else. I think that's really, really core, is that the customer doesn't go somewhere else to get your product. They go to your preferred channel, ultimately.
Yeah. And where they can capture more of the margin if they're doing it themselves, as opposed to
margin, but also data, right? Data and engagement. I mean, the direct-to-consumer proposition in inverted commas has been under threat and under a lot of criticism in the last 12 to 18 months as kind of capital environments have changed, delivery costs have risen, every cost has risen.
Yeah.
I think that's being challenged. I think it is going through a difficult time, but it's still the most powerful channel to interact with your customer, right? I engage with you over SMS, WhatsApp, email, social. I really understand you as a customer. When you transact on my channel, I can build product for you. I can change product for you. I can take your reviews. I can offer you loyalty programs. I can offer you discounts. Like, it's still ultimately the best transactional channel. It's just about how you do it and what you invest in it. And are there opportunities in wholesale and distribution? Of course there are. And maybe some brands want to pursue those right now because it's very early days for that channel.
Yeah, I was just going to pick up on the retention piece. It's something I don't think we've talked about previously. And that idea where we get retention, I suppose Amazon's a great example of retention because you're a Prime member and you go back in and you can pretty much get everything you want. But in terms of other retailers and how important that is, Jack, in the list of things, I suppose costs, speed, retention, is it just a balance of those things together?
I honestly think it's dead simple maths. I think if you've got the right data, it's maths. What Amazon, the bets that Amazon have made and that we are encouraging retailers to take that bet is, I invest in you as the customer. You said Prime's not free, but it's kind of free. And if you amortize the cost across the year, kind of feels like it's free. Ultimately, Amazon don't make money on your Prime subscription from a delivery perspective. You know, if you're ordering multiple times, and Deliveroo Plus, same thing. I worked at Deliveroo. You know, the Plus program was incredibly popular. It allowed you to get free delivery, and the frequency for those customers soars. So it at the point of checkout, offering someone a better delivery experience and eating that cost looks like a hit to you, but it's really an investment in your customer, because when you see the data, when you see the retention data and the frequency data, you can map very quickly whether or not that investment paid off. So let's take a very basic example. You go, standard delivery cost me 4, same day delivery cost me 7. I know I'm investing the 4 already. I'm already offering you free delivery. So kind of we've already proven that this is the construct. But let's say we need to prove it again. There's an incremental £3. If I give you that £3 for free and I give you a same day delivery experience, I have to find £3 of value in you as a customer. So if I think a data set we looked at recently for one of our brands was something like over a 3-month period, standard delivery customers retained at 1.3 over a 3-month period. So they came back 1.3 times over that 3-month period. Pretty good. The same customer, the same brand, the cohort that received a same day delivery came back 1.6 times, I think. So it's not an enormous jump, but it's 0.3 times. So it's 30% of your AOV.
Yeah.
So if it's a £30 AOV, you're getting £9 back. Yeah. So you invested 3, you got back 9, right? So someone will probably kill me on my maths there, but you know that's a logical investment in your customer that says, I took a risk on you, and now I'm getting that value back. And that is ultimately the proposition for any online business. It's, what does it cost me to acquire you as a customer?
Yeah.
And how will I retain you over time? What's the lifetime value here? What's the lifetime value of you as a customer on this channel? And how do I optimize that number?
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Let's talk a little bit about sustainability. We know we've thrown the term green out a lot today. Do you have a sense as to the fleet that's being used to deliver goods through Bodo, and does that vary a lot based on is it 1 hour or is it 4-day delivery?
Yeah, emissionless delivery is a really interesting one. I think that customers are seriously not willing to pay for their environmental footprint. I think that everyone says they are and everyone wants to, but not if it comes at any cost to them. And I think that creates a really significant challenge for retailers and incumbents in the courier space and challengers. Like, you can't just be quicker and more environmental. You also have to be cost effective. You also have to be cheaper, basically. If you're most retailers, you approach them and you say, look, I've got an amazing delivery proposition. It's the exact same as the one you've got right now. It's slightly more expensive, but it's emissionless. I think really big retailers are willing to listen to that argument because they have CSR goals. They have obligations as big businesses to comply with certain regulations. But challenger businesses, forget it. There's no way, unless their brand is very, very environmentally focused and their customer base is. It's really, really unlikely. I think there's massive double standards here where brands greenwash, service providers greenwash, and customers play along because they go, yeah, I won't buy from you unless you're green. But if it's even remotely more expensive, forget it.
Yeah.
So that's not really fair, right? That said, the network is growing massively. Like, I think electric vehicles in inner cities. I look at brands in the space. I look at a company like Zumo, and how much they're contributing to making inner city delivery couriers more viable from an environmental perspective. The system can only change, the cost can only be comparable to the existing status quo if the network changes, if the infrastructure changes. And so that's two parts. That's the vehicle types. Can we get better, more efficient and sustainable vehicle types in the right areas? Can they be at cost? And then also, where do we get the product from? Because I can tell you, if you want to get a Zumo from Newcastle and deliver the same day to London, it's not going to work.
No, at all.
So product has to be in the right place. The products have to be enabled. That's what we're helping to do, is recognize where that product is and then connect it with the right courier who's using the right vehicle type and get it to the customer in a cost-effective way. Big challenge, but it's it's early days, and I think it's a space that is really, really innovating and growing fast.
Yeah, which is why I ask, because I think you are kind of solving the second part of that you mentioned. You either have your own set of dark stores within city centers that are very close to demand anyways, or you're enabling stores that have their own, again, storefronts in city centers that are also very close to demand. And so we tend to, people easily bucket emissionless as this one big category, but a delivery done with an electric van is fundamentally different to a delivery done with a e-cargo bike or a normal bike, because vans struggle with the same thing that petrol vans do, which is congestion and parking and all these different issues. And so I guess the reason I was asking you that is I was wondering if you're seeing a lot more cargo bike delivery from your stores.
A lot more. I think that it's really about the landscape, the physical landscape, that not only are they less environmental, but they really struggle operationally. The wrong vehicle types struggle to deliver in the inner city.
Exactly.
Right.
And so it doesn't need to be a sustainability question; it's an efficiency question.
Totally. Our job again, is to make sure that stock is matched with courier, and inherently baked into the courier question is the vehicle type. So our algorithm knows to dispatch, if something is in zone 1 and 2, it knows to dispatch to a courier that has cargo bikes. All of our courier partners are 100% electric. We only work with electric fleets. That's kind of a prerequisite for what we're trying to achieve as a business. But again, the type of vehicle is a whole nother question. So we need to basically be able to identify the address, match it to the inventory, and then also make sure that we have the most efficient mechanism of delivery going through that. And in zone 1 and 2, that is categorically cargo bikes. How to get the cost down, how to get the efficiencies down, reliability of those vehicles for the service providers. I guess you guys know a lot more about. That's where there needs to be progress as well, because I know that there is the good, the bad, and the ugly in EVs.
I think in any distribution network, there's a good, bad, and ugly.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting what you're saying. One is cost is a pre-piece, but the really interesting discussion today is about integrated supply chain. It's about where does the product get stored, and when it's in the middle of cities, either at a retail store or at a dark store or a warehouse close to the point of consumption, we can then offer consumers much, much more in terms of speed, efficiencies, and those speed and efficiencies will come cost over time. But what I think you said it in the first episode, where people just think it magically just appears. I click the button at checkout and it magically appears with me, and there's a lot more goes behind that. And I'm sure, Jack, you probably know retailers that are shipping from stores into networks that's going all the way through the journey and doing hundreds of miles as a package and finally getting delivered. Does the consumer care? No, I don't think they do.
Yeah, you're right that it's about the integration piece. It's about using technology to solve that problem. And again, a good case study, a good example is speaking to a retailer recently is, I have a product that's in a cart, and I've located that product is available in, Westfield, West London, and the customer is in, Acton. So we know that the customer is within that last mile. We know that the cart is available. It's the inventory is local. So what are we going to do? We're going to ship it from Newcastle to the customer. Or worse, sometimes ship it into the network from a London-based hub, London-based DC, up to a sorting hub, around somewhere else, and then back into London. So the inefficiencies in the system are mind-boggling, but someone in the network would say, well, they're not inefficiencies. They are how we extract the efficiencies because scale. And, this is the key is we need the integrated supply chain. So that retailer has to know where the customer is, know where the product is, and be able to get that product to that customer at cost. That's the kind of thing we help enable. But there's still a price. It's still prohibited by price in some ways because it's still cheaper to get something from much further than much closer, which fundamentally doesn't make sense, right?
Because you're stacking thousands of orders.
Because you're stacking thousands of orders, right? If I told you that, it was the same 2 deliveries, one was traveling 0.8 miles and one was coming from Newcastle, and both were Royal Mail deliveries, you would obviously one would be more expensive than the other, and yet we have this inverted system, and so we need to rely on vehicle innovation and also technical innovation to marry up those 2 suppliers to ultimately bring a faster and better and obviously greener experience to the customer. Everyone's winning in that example. It's just about moving the system towards that kind of eventuality.
Yeah, just to double click on that green point, I think people tend to think, okay, one reason you're sustainable is because you're replacing deliveries that are normally done by van with deliveries that can be done by cargo bikes, which is actually a pretty small part of it. The example you just described is taking a package journey that would have been West London all the way to Newcastle and back to West London, and actually just making it West London to West London. So it's just these much more nimble point-to-point deliveries as opposed to kind of feeding into this massive network.
Yeah. And the customer's winning, right?
Yeah. One last point for me is, I think if the average person were to hear a company that's working with dark stores and ultra-fast delivery, their mind probably goes to rapid grocery delivery, the likes of Gorillas and Getir and Co.
Yes. And
so can you explain how different you are to those kinds of companies?
Yeah, I think we have almost nothing in common. For me, the quick commerce model is to say, I buy tons of product I think people might want quickly, which mostly is groceries and booze.
Yeah.
I buy those products, I take inventory risk, I store them. Then I acquire customers onto a marketplace, my marketplace, to buy those products. So you have both of those pieces, and then you have the logistics piece. I would almost go so far as to say that we could probably work with those companies by providing the logistics piece, right? And increasingly, you are kind of seeing that where I think Financial Times reported last week that GoPuff in the US, which is the market leader, is now using Uber Direct and DoorDash Drive to power their deliveries. That tells you, they have huge critical mass GoPuff. They're doing, tens, hundreds of thousands of orders a day probably, and they're opting to use an external fleet for that. So I think, when I look at quick commerce, the difficulty in that industry was I have to acquire my customer to buy my product. So I have to buy them online through SEO, PPC, paid social, flyering, discounting, free product, affiliate marketing, all the rest, right? So I have to go and find you, Nicholas, do you want to buy plums tonight?
Yeah.
And then I have to basically try and figure out how to make enough margin on those plums to pay for the delivery, which is a significant undertaking, right? Especially when you look at the basket size in that industry. I think that one of the biggest challenges to food or grocery delivery is the basket size versus the delivery cost. If you compare those to e-commerce, it's really stark difference, right? So AOVs, average order values in quick commerce are between 19 and 22 pounds, right? So within that 22 pounds, I have to make money and get it to you, right? Tough gig. Same for food delivery. I have to make money and get it to you, send the courier, etc. In e-com, any e-commerce business will say, I really struggle to make the economics work on a £20 basket. Every e-commerce business that's successful is going to be higher than that. There are exceptions, of course, but basically your purchase price needs to be able to accommodate the cost of delivery. We talked about offering free delivery, right? Oh, I can afford to offer you free delivery. You said $75, right? And we know that customers are willing to get there. So you're baking in the £3, £4, £5 cost in the $75 basket. That makes sense. It's still difficult, but makes sense. What if you were trying to do that on a £20 basket? Because that's what those guys are trying to do.
Yeah.
And I also have to acquire you as a customer. And I also have to retain engineers and build an amazing software product and compete with other on-demand products like Uber and Amazon and Deliveroo. So those guys really had and have their work cut out for them. How are we different? Like all of the above, right? We don't have any customer presence. We don't have a marketplace. We don't have an app. We work for retailers. We work for brands. We integrate quite seamlessly at checkout. Customers don't know we exist.
Yeah.
All you see as a customer is, I'm about to buy these shoes. Oh, I can get them in an hour. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'll click that one. And then you get an amazing customer experience where you got it in an hour, it was fully tracked, and we white label all of those services. So you get a notification saying, "Hi, Nicholas, we've got your order. I'm the brand talking to you. I'm going to deliver it to you in an hour. Here's the tracker. It's a branded tracker, so you would never know as the customer that Bodo exists. We're white label in that sense, but we're doing that because we know that if you're the retailer and you're offering that experience and the customer loves that experience and they come back to you and they go, "Oh, that was so cool. I got it in an hour." We get this sometimes, right? Like we work with a brand called Suri. It's a sustainably produced toothbrush challenger. So challenger to Oral-B or Philips. And we offer these services with them. And I think we spoke to a customer recently who ordered, and it was like the customer was really, really near one of our dark stores. I think like really, really near. So I think they got the product in like 11 minutes or something ridiculous. If you're transacting online on e-com, you're not on a fast marketplace. You don't know that proposition is there for you. And you get to checkout and it goes, you can get it in 1 hour. And you get it in basically 15 minutes. That's a pretty mind-blowing experience. You're going to tell your friends about that. And you're going to go, "I just bought a toothbrush online and this amazing retailer got it to me this quickly. How awesome is that?" Right? And that's what we're trying to create and maintain for retailers, because you're going to tell your friends about that retailer. You're going to tell, "You got to buy this toothbrush. You can get it in an hour." And I'm not sure a toothbrush is something you need in an hour. That's not the point. It's an amazing, powerful customer experience. That's what we're trying to create.
Nice. I think it makes a lot of sense.
Great. I think we could go all day actually because it's been a different topic for us. But Nicholas, if you're okay, I think we should wrap because this has been quite a really, really interesting discussion. So thanks, Jack, for bringing, if you like, the voice of the customer and the voice of the retailer to this this podcast, because thinking about the customers in a different way. So a couple of things I say, big takeaways are reliability, cost, and sustainability. And cost is almost paramount at checkout, so that we're seeing people in a retention environment getting a fantastic service with what we're seeing through the piece. So I really, really enjoyed today's discussion on it. Almost feel like a retailer, not a logistician now. So thank you for that. If you like what you hear today, then don't forget to subscribe, follow us, and see you next week.